Southern Sweden, early spring, as the country emerges from another long, dark and cold winter. With this climate, it's no surprise that the Swedes are pioneers of instant light and heat. This is the Swedish match industry's factory near Tidaholm, and head chemist Jonas Norqvist has no complaints about the weather.
It's more difficult to make matches in countries where you have high humidity and warm climate, because you will have problems with the drying of the match heads. In Sweden we have not so humid and hot climate, and therefore we have a more or less perfect environment for doing this.
In these perfect conditions, the Tidaholm factory churns out 250 million matches a day for export to 80 countries. Every match starts life as a chunk of wood. 7 a.m. in the woodyard, the first of the day's 30 deliveries is underway. A match that bent when you tried to strike it would be useless, so they use hard aspen wood to make rigid matchsticks. It takes 550 logs a day to keep up with demand, so employee of 15 years Staffan Berg can't hang around.
I am the fastest driver, and I am the only driver as well.
The climate can make things tricky for Staffan.
In the winter I have to be a little bit more careful when I'm driving, because it's a heavy machine and it's slippery.
Each log will become nearly 400,000 matches, enough to last the average Swede 1,000 years. The problem is the logs are covered in soft fibrous bark that's not stiff enough for making matches. So they're fed into the stripping machine, which ruthlessly grinds away the bark. But the bare logs are still 3 meters long, too big for the processing machines. A circular saw makes short work of them, slicing the trunks into uniform 60-centimeter long chunks called billets. If you tried chopping these chunks of hard wood into matches, you'd be at it all year. So instead of slicing the wood, they peel it with a specialist machine called a rotary lathe. One by one, the spinning logs are forced onto a blade, which shaves them into sheets called veneers, just 1 matchstick thick. But shaving logs all day is tough work, so Bella Philipson has to ensure the blade is always razor sharp. It's a job that keeps her on her toes.
It's a lot of movement here. You don't have to stand still or sit down a lot, and you have to do a lot of different things.
Any softer dark wood won't be good enough for matches, so Bella can't take her eyes off the veneers.
I have to look out for the brown wood. You have to take it away, so the matches will be white and clean.
Veneers that pass muster pile up against this unique machine. It chops the stack into 15 million tiny sticks or splints an hour. The strange thing about matchsticks is that they've got to burn well when you need them to burn, and they've got to go out and stay out when you finish with them. So Torsten Holst pours flame-retardant monoammonium phosphate into a giant blender. Here it's mixed with water, then piped into these revolving chambers to soak the splints. But now they're damp, so the splints are gently baked in this oven. And then they're shaken over metal filters. Now Torsten has to check the splints are ready to be turned into matches. First he makes sure they've been properly dried out. He checks the wood's humidity level is below 5%. Then he needs to see that the flame retardant is doing its job. As the wood burns, the monoammonium phosphate in this 5-gram pile of matchsticks expands and chars. This stops the match burning anymore once the flame is out. He's hoping to see just 0.6 of a gram of ash remaining. Any less, and the match has kept on smouldering, but much more, and the match hasn't burnt enough. If they're burning right, the batch is ready to make the transformation from sticks to matchsticks. And that doesn't happen in 5-gram batches. This is the incredible continuous machine. Invented 150 years ago by Swede Alexander Lagerman, this feat of engineering transforms 2 million splints into 40,000 boxes of matches every hour. The difficult bit is making sure every one of them is the same. With a bit of shaking and shoving, each stick is aligned and dropped into holes in this metal conveyor belt. Every match has to burn reliably first time. So first stop on the machine that never stops is the paraffin. But even a stick soaked in paraffin won't just spontaneously combust. That's where the match head comes in. So over in the batching room, Peder Johansson is busy cooking up a mix to start a fire. A squidge of gelatine works as glue to hold the burny stuff in place. The business end of the match is made from potassium chlorate, also found in fireworks and gunpowder. This kick-starts the burn, setting light to the paraffin in the splint. After a drop of red to make it pretty, the mixture is ready to go to the continuous machine. With 10 continuous machines on the go, they get through 300 litres of head mixture an hour. And for over 20 years, it's been Siv Ney's job to keep them topped up.
Jag gör ju allt möjligt här inne, men det är att göra tändstickor. Det är viktigt. Ja, vi gör tändstickor för hela världen. Och det är ju väldigt bra för oss. Vi skapar massa jobb och det är den enda tändstickfabriken i hela Sverige.
The splints are dipped in the head mixture 4,000 at a time. The trouble is, if they box them now, the gloopy heads would stick together. This is where the continuous machine comes into its own. More than 2/3 of its 150-metre length is actually one giant moving drying rack. For the hour it takes a match to move from dipping to packaging, it's just airing. But there's a major problem. None of these matches will strike a light. Because if you had all the flammable chemicals packed in the head, the whole lot could potentially go off on their own. A Swedish chemist called Gustav Erik Pasch created the clever solution.
The key actually is to have the chemicals separate. You have some chemicals on the matchbox itself and some chemicals on the match head. So when you strike the match, you get a reaction between the head of the match and the chemicals on the matchbox.
The safety match was born. The print shop bonds striking surfaces to 110,000 matchboxes an hour. This red stream is glue, red phosphorus and powdered glass. When a match strikes a dried strip of this stuff, the friction between the match head and the glass creates heat. The heat starts a reaction between the phosphorus and potassium chlorate in the head. This sets light to the match head and the paraffin-soaked wood starts to burn. Matches meet boxes at the end of the continuous machine. They're loaded into trays and the trays are shoved inside sleeves, creating an astonishing 20 boxes of matches per second. Every day they make enough boxes to build a column the height of the Eiffel Tower, thousands of which pass through the capable hands of Suzanne Larsson, who's been here for 20 years.
I'm checking if there is any matches outside and
light them to see if they are burning.
Before the batch can leave the factory, the matches have to pass one final test.
I'm checking for instant ignition, and I also check for that the splint does not break or that there is no detachment from the head. Flame height should also be higher than 1 centimeter, and it should last for 10 seconds at least. Also, there should be no afterglow once I put the flame out.
A perfect match means the millions just like it can ship out to the 4 corners of the globe. So wherever you're watching, next time you strike a light, it might just be a match made in Sweden.